Hey coaches, Marc Hart here. Just wanted to share with you some tips on the dribble drive motion offense to make your offense a little bit more successful. So we're going to just dive right into it. A little bit about me real quick is I'm a high school basketball coach, been running dribble drive since 2008 and owner of System Basketball. And I've done a lot of content on dribble drive motion offense, some by myself, some with Kurt Gelsdorf, where we created a course. So let's get into the tips to improve your dribble drive motion offense. First, let's start with gaps. Probably there's three big threes. There's the big three, and it's attack mindset, spacing, and gaps. But for you to be very efficient in the dribble drive, you need to be able to create gaps. The spacing is important as well, but the gaps is what really gets this offense going. Vance once said, and probably always says, and I get myself saying it quite frequently, only great ones can beat single gaps. Good ones can beat double gaps. Average player can beat triple gaps. So the one guard front versus the two guard front. It is traditionally a 4-out, 1-in offense, and it comes up with two guards in the slots, two players in the corners, and a post player opposite the ball in the dunker spot or low block area. So what you need to do traditionally is if your player cannot beat that player in transition, you need to be able to create a gap. So you need to start your offense as much as possible with a one guard front. So you're going to pass through single gaps and drive through double and triple gaps. So if the pass is not open guard to guard, we're not going to fight that. We're going to get high and wide, or we're going to send that player through a cut through to create that triple gap. So again, you're going to drive through doubles and triple gaps. Again, I'm going to remind you, if your trailing guard is denied, get high and wide or cut through. Do not fight pressure. Next, we're gonna discuss racking the basketball. It's pretty important to get to the rim and be able to finish. But do you teach it other than say, hey, we need to get to the rack it? I mean, I find myself doing it all the time. Sit underneath the basket when you're at your next practice or workout session with your players and have them do layups and see when they put that first dribble on the floor, where are their eyes? Is it looking at the floor? A lot of times it is. They don't really pick up the ball or pick up their eyes on the rim until they're bringing hand to ball and laying it in the hoop. So you need to talk to your players, do drills to get them with their eyes on the rim. It will help their vision to know when to pass it, know when to continue to drive, when to stop. It will really help their decision making in the paint. The next concept is clipping the hip. Your players need to play low and try to get their hip into their shoulder, essentially fouling them first before they foul you so that they open up and allow you to get to the rim. Are your players' shoulders getting to the basket? So if they're playing east-west, their shoulders are pointed towards the sideline. You need to get their shoulders getting to the rim as fast as possible. Do you have protection plans in place for your players that are driving to the rack? Do you have Barclays? Do you have Nash moves? Do you have things in there so that they're not just throwing up bad shots? And also, if they do not have a shot, they're able to read the defense by having protection plans. Also, are you teaching the decision making on the racket? Arms in your way versus chest. If you just see arms, you're going to go through them and lay it in the hoop. Do you have players that cannot beat their players off the dribble? I hear it all the time. I don't have players. I don't have this. Well, I think you need two players that can put the ball on the floor that you can have on the floor at most times, and you can still run this offense. If you don't have 3, 4, you're probably going to have to use more dribble handoffs. You're going to have to utilize some pick and rolls. You're going to make you can make that specific player, you can handicap them and say, hey, we need you to play. You're a rebounder. You're a great defensive player, but you can't elevate up and get the ball, and you can't get in the paint for us. So every time the ball comes at you, you're going to cut back door. Okay. So, and then also, if they're a great shooter and you need them on the court for shooting ability, but they can't deck it, well, you can pick and pop them, use them as a ghost screener. You can have them be a pass and cut and respace. So just because your players do not fit the ideal doesn't mean you can't run this. You just got to be a little bit more creative. How are we going to read the drops? So this is essential, in my opinion. Players do not cut backdoor enough in this offense. They always want to run up and get the ball. They're impatient in the corner, so they run up and they take the gap away as the player's driving. They don't hold the corner well. But in this situation, we need to teach them when the ball is picked up in the drop zone area, which is typically from the elbow area out to the three-point line, how did the defense guard? So the first thing they need to be is, am I being hugged? Am I being up the line denied? If those are the two facets, then they should be cutting back door. If the player's playing flat, then that's when they should lift. If you look at your game film, I'd be willing to bet that your players are coming up way more than they should in this situation when you're playing out of the drop zone. If you can get them to play out of a backdoor read, and the way I'm teaching my players how to do this now is when they're coming up and my players' shoulders turn towards the sideline and their 10 toes are on the sideline, they're going to start making their action. They're not going to wait till they pick it up. I do say, hey, wait till they pick it up kind of in practice, because we know in a game they're running up. But the real read I'm trying to get them to do now is read the shoulders of the offensive player and learn how the defense guards the corner. Now, if you have a great shooter, they need to become a great backdoor drop player. That's their counter. If they're not great at putting on the floor, if they can be a great backdoor player for you, you're going to get layups, tee-ups, drift corner threes, fill behinds. That's when all the great things happen on a backdoor. The more backdoor opportunities and able to throw that ball on time, on target, or hit the four flashing, that is what will make it great. The last part of the drop reads for me is have your four stay low unless the corner player cuts back door. Then they should be flashing to the opposite elbow. If you're having them flash on every drop zone pickup, it's going to be hard on a loop, a lift, middle penetration out of that for the four to clear for that double gap for them to get to the other side of the rim on a middle drive. So that's the drop zone reads and tips for you. A lot of question in the Facebook group about how to eliminate the weave. And this, I think, boils down to spacing and are your passes positive or negative? And what I mean by that is if you look at the diagram on the left and one stopped in the drop zone and the ball is thrown below them, the player first dribble has to be upward and their body goes upward before they go downhill. Where if they threw the ball positively, their first dribble is to the rim and downhill. Secondly, if you're looking at the second diagram, it's 5 up. Is 5 up? Is 3 in the corner to begin with, or is 3 at the free throw line extended? If you look at how the two diagrams changed, 2 drove and started to break that T, and 5 goes across, then downhill, and 3 needs to read, do I come up or cut in the back door? I know some teams are already having that 3 up on a drop, and I think that's a mistake. So you want to not have that. So that is my take on weaves, is it's your spacing and it's your positive and negative passes. Some of my final thoughts for today with you guys on this video is you need to teach the big three every day in practice. It needs to be harped in them that we're an attack mindset team. So that means if you're an attack mindset team, are you going to, with the bottom bullet point, are you going to allow mid-range shots? Or are you only going to allow paint touch shots? What are you going to allow? And that's what that's what's going to happen. Secondly, your spacing. Do they know when the ball's here, this is how I space according to it, and this is where I cut, this is where I lift? They need to know that. And the last one is creating gaps. We talked about that earlier. Single gaps, double gaps, triple gaps need to be emphasized every day. Was that a good choice to drive that gap, or should I have stayed? Now, all your drills should be focused on these. And if I can give you a little bit more advice today, I would play more one-on-one and restrict the ball handler into 2 or 3 dribbles. Or if you have Barkleys in place, you can kind of get a little bit more into giving them a little bit more dribbles. But the more times they're dribbling in the paint and not using their body as a screener like you do in Barkley, the more dangerous it is for a steal. Name your actions. So if you're in a timeout or you need to call a player over or give them a verbal cue, hey, they're playing us this way, we need to look for a window pass. We need to look for a drag. We need to look for a Euro pass. My terminology for a player coming behind is a 6. So name your actions and use them daily. If you're installing this for the first time or haven't installed it, or you've installed it already and you haven't done this, you get what you emphasize. So if you teach the drop zone reads first, you're going to have a team, in my opinion, that is only going to want to dribble to the elbows and stop. If you teach the rack zone, that is the attack mindset, you're going to probably have more success with them getting to the rim and wanting to make a layup or throwing skips, reverse pivoting, and letting other players play off that. A few things that I would chart. Paint touches would be paramount for me. Is if you can have somebody chart or watch your game film, how was our offense? What was accomplished? Did we get a good shot? What was the success rate on paint touch versus not getting the ball to paint? And I don't care if it's bounced there, passed there, a player cutting and passed to there, or how you got the ball to the paint. Your offense efficiency will go skyrocketing high if you can get paint touches. Lastly, coaches, teach shot selection. Teach them what type of shots you want. My team wants rim shots, rhythm threes, and get to the free throw line. And if I ask them what shots, they will tell you free, key, or 3, coach, is what we want. And we tell them good shot, bad shot every day. Last thing I wanted to share with you guys today is Kurt Gelsdorf and I did a DDM A to Z course that takes you a deep dive really into this offense, from the install to practices to drills to how to run this versus switching defense, sagging defenses, pack line defenses, pressure aggressive defenses, box and ones, triangle and twos, zone defenses. We also have a chapter on how to utilize a big man if you're blessed to have one, to use them in this offense more, use them on the perimeter, use them inside. Also variations to it if you don't have the ideal, so you can run it 5 out, 3 out, 2 in. It's on my website. The course itself is normally $99 just for the videos. I have a promotion on the site. It's called the DDM Challenge Bundle, and it has the book, the accompanying book, the 13 chapters, and we threw in some bonuses. My 5 out clinic I did, the transition A to Z clinic, my book on dribble drive for high school basketball, and we also have an exclusive Facebook group just for the course members. So coaches, check that out. I'll drop the link in the video below, and we'll see you on the next video.